What's going on? So we just got back from our Moab trip. Spent 3 days down there. You can see it rained for about 1.5 of those 3 days. Yeah, this was the first day we were there. On Thursday it rained and then it hailed. And yeah, so we didn't go riding the first day, but the second day we managed to get out and go riding. So one of my wife's favorite trails down here is the 7 Mile Rim Trail. She really wanted to do this trail, and I knew it was going to be a little bit tricky for the Maverick Trail, but we thought we'd give it a shot. You can see here all the mud from the rain. We're not used to mud in Moab. Usually we come down here and it's sandy and dusty, but yeah, just the roads here were muddy. You can see we had to deal with them quite a bit. We headed off down here on the flats towards the 7 Mile Rim Trail. This is just unloading the truck, coming in on the main road. We're kind of heading, I don't know what you'd say, north. Yeah. East, I guess, from the truck. Yeah, once we get off the main road, you start heading up the hill. And, we've been up this trail a few times on ATV. This is the first time ever in a Maverick Trail, and we knew Maverick Trail isn't really made for this stuff, but this is the machine we have, so we're going to make do. And this is, down to the left, down the cliff a little bit, you can see that's down on the flats where the main road was, but you come up this hill towards what is kind of the beginning of the 7 Mile Rim Trail. And it's a little bit rocky, and now it's a little bit muddy and rocky, and yeah, it was a little tricky getting this little thing up this road. And yeah, a little mud on the camera. It gets cleaned off here in a sec. As we slowly reach the top, it's more rock than mud, I guess at this point, but it starts to give you just a little taste of what's coming as far as terrain goes. See, the clouds are kind of looming. There wasn't even really more like a 20% chance of rain on this day, so we thought we were pretty safe, but man, these clouds just loomed around us all day long. And once you make the turn off onto the 7 Mile Rim Trail itself, a little while in, this is the first real obstacle that you come to. I mean, this trail isn't really that difficult, but there are a few little tricky problem spots you got to deal with. And this was the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look bad. It really doesn't. The camera never picks it up, but you can kind of see a lot of the roof. You can see it's pitching down, and right here I'm teetering on 3.
Yep, you're right there.
It was a little bit spooky right there, but we flopped down. And then you don't hear it in this angle, but there's a big bang as I bottom out right there.
You almost hit the rock. You missed it.
Yeah, not bad.
I meant just the little rock you put in the way.
Just tricky.
The rock you were aiming for, you hit it and it slid over.
There's all that mud. It's like cement. It's like this weird green cementy
slime.
Mud.
That green shit?
Strange stuff.
Looks like slime.
Yeah, but an inside view, you'll hear that bang. I come down pretty hard. Continue on from there. It just starts to get a little bit more rocky. Now the rocks really aren't slippery when they're wet, per se. I like to call them, it's like 60 grit sandpaper. These rocks are. It's pretty amazing stuff. And when they're wet, it's like wet 60 grit sandpaper. But the problem we were having is the sand and the mud sticking to the tires and making the tires kind of slippery, and so yeah, it was not the copious amounts of traction that we were used to. The sand and, like I say, just sticking to the tires, making just a little slime on the tires, making things a little bit slippery, but not too bad. And you can see it's starting to sprinkle on us right here, and it's getting steadier and steadier. It's getting pretty gnarly, and it's about now that it really started to pour. Just started to pour on us.
Very nice.
So we pulled out the tarp, threw it over the cab, made a little tent, and yeah, it rained for a good 10-15 minutes, and then it started to lighten up and wasn't so bad. But you have to be a little bit careful here when the water doesn't run into the soil on these rocks. It just runs right across and starts to flow, and things can become rivers pretty quickly. I mean, it didn't rain long enough that we had anything real to worry about, but we just did not want to get soaked, and so we stopped and threw up a tarp and just kind of waited it out. This is another one of those spots that doesn't look so bad until you're sitting in the driver's seat and you can't see over the front.
Kind of intimidating.
You have really no idea what you're getting into. Yeah, the camera just never seems to do this stuff, Justin. And it's not bad. Don't get me wrong.
Straight up.
So the best plan of attack was to try and just go straight up it. And I forgot to lock the rear diff.
Okay, back up just a tick.
And yeah, the tire's slipping just a little bit on the rocks.
More. And
so back up.
There you go.
Get a little bit bigger run at it. Yeah, you can see that tire's just not spinning. I forgot to lock the rear diff. That was pretty stupid. But we made it. The front diff locked and pulled us up eventually.
Oh, God.
Yeah, like I say, 7 Mile Rim Trail is not that bad. My wife really likes this trail. We did it a few times on ATVs. This was just one of her favorite. There's a few rocks to play on, but all in all, it's really not too bad. You can kind of see that white line, the painted line right there in the rock. That's kind of how they mark these trails. And when it gets wet, it's hard to see the mark sometimes, and you can't see the tire tracks from the previous people that have gone through because they kind of get washed away. So we got lost a few times. Once you make it to the top, yeah, this is what it's all about. It's just muddy. Good grief, it's just muddy, sloppy right here. But yeah, once you make it to the top, this is why my wife likes to do this trail, I think, is because it's not really that difficult, and you get the views like this, looking down on the highway. Just it's pretty amazing up here. From here, you just kind of continue along the edge of the rim here for a while. It's really pretty easy going. And you come up to kind of another overlook, this one here. Similar views, really. Yeah, this is why you do this trail, is to get up here. And Moab isn't necessarily my favorite place in the world to ride, but some of these places you will have views and see things that you just cannot see anywhere else. From the rim, it's a little bit, start to make your way back down a little bit. A few more rocks to deal with. Pretty easy going, really. start to work your way towards the flat again. A couple of these little washes you go through, you get back into the sand. You know, it becomes a little less rock and a little bit more sand as you go. And eventually, you're back into where it's just sand. Heading out towards the buttes there. You can see these pretty much the whole loop. Kind of keeps you oriented as to what direction you're going. But from here, you go pretty much right straight at them. But yeah, this sand is fun. The slip is pretty firm because it was pretty wet from all the rain. But yeah, the sand is, it's fun in here. And I got to tell you, these Test Terabyte tires, you know, I'm pretty sure this is more or less what they were designed to do, is this kind of terrain. I can tell you, they just shine. They did really well here in the sand. They did amazing on the rocks. I was so impressed with these tires. I did air them down a little bit. I usually run them about 15 in the back, 12 in the front. And I think I aired them down to maybe 13 in the back and 11 in the front, just a little bit. I mean, I still worry about pinch flats and things like that on the rock, so I didn't air them down a lot. But it was enough that there was a little bit of a bulge in the sidewall and, you know, give me a little flotation out here on the sand. But yeah, like I say, I did air them down. I just didn't air them down a lot. Yeah, now this is kind of cutting back towards the north. I like to come around this way. It makes a big kind of a loop, a big triangle almost, but come up through this little canyon right here. Yeah, it's pretty, really impressive. This is usually right here where we stop and have a little bit of lunch, right here underneath the rocks. From there we continued up through the wash. I think this is Tusher Wash, if I remember right. Yeah, this is the trail becomes this after a while. You drive in through the wash here for a few miles. Tusher Tunnel is off to the left, way up. Right here in the vicinity where Tusher Tunnel is. But we're just going to follow this all the way to the end and catch the road on the other side of it. From there, we just hit the main road and turned right and headed back to the truck. That's pretty much it for day one. And appreciate you guys watching, and keep an eye out for day two. I mean, we took it really easy on day two. Did Onion Creek and Top of the World, things like that. Kind of took it easy, but yeah, this is just day one. This took us about 4.5 hours, and I think we only went 15 or 18 miles or something on this day, but it was a long, slow, wet, slippery kind of day. But yeah, we made it. Anyway, keep an eye out for part two. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you in the next one.